It's here. Menopause Shouldn't Suck is open. Wives, it's time to find your people. Women just like you who want to be better equipped for the transition that no one really talks about. A life transition that doesn't just impact your body, but also your emotions and your relationships. Join as a founding member today at menopauseshouldn'tsuck.com.
From Naples, Florida, this is a One Extraordinary Marriage show, where being busy is overdone, romancing is fun, and scheduling sex has taken the guesswork out of wondering when you're going to get some. I'm Tony DiLorenzo, your co-host, along with my beautiful wife, Elisa. From coast to coast and around the world, thank you for joining us. It's time to talk sex, love, and commitment. Give us a call or text us on the Hug hotline at 858-876-5663 or send us an email to hugs@oneextraordinarymarriage.com. In today's episode, we're talking about unexpected insights, obstacles, and how being intentional continues to transform our marriage after completing our 19th sex challenge.
Wow, 19. Can't even believe it. And there's a quote from Michael Jordan that ties into this. He said, "Some people want it to happen. Some people wish it would happen. Others make it happen." And I think that's been true of our marriage over the years in regard to the sex challenges and how they've impacted us. And, everyone is a little bit different. We're going to be talking about that in today's episode. But first, I want to start with a hug. And a hug's an opportunity for us to celebrate transformation, to recognize breakthrough in your marriage. And this hug comes from a comment that was posted in the One Family private Facebook group that said, "A few years back, me and my hubs were in need and opted to do a communication class. It was great. And later we did the conflict style class, which came with a few marriage coaching classes as well. It jump-started our marriage and put us on a path to healing." I'm a big fan of coaching, and my man was definitely against seeking outside help professionally. But this led us to do counseling with an LMFT who focused on the positive and gave us weekly positive homework, going to a marriage conference, and much more. Coaching is worth the investment. It's cheaper than divorce.
Wow. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
I love that. And I love the transformation and being a part of their journey and where they're headed. I mean, sometimes it's that one little baby step, like we say all the time. Like, what's the one little baby step that starts you down a path of growth and learning and understanding? And if you're in a place where you feel stuck and you're like, gosh, like we need something to start shifting, I'd highly suggest that you apply for marriage coaching. You can go to oneextraordinarymarriage.com/coaching. No obligation, but do it. Start this process. Take a baby step.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting that you're talking about the baby steps, because earlier this month there was a discussion in Intimacy Mastery, because I put this post up that talked about the fact that little actions create big change. Little actions done consistently create big changes. And it was great because there were other people inside Intimacy Mastery who were sharing what they were going to be focusing on this month. So some of the comments we got were, we need to focus on our spiritual intimacy pillar, create more rituals and traditions for us. We're going to schedule time for 2-hour and 24-hour intimate encounters as part of our church's program around two becoming one. And one of these will be a 2-hour massage. We're focused on recreational intimacy on our cruise this week. We're focused on emotional intimacy, sharing deeper feelings that often remain unsaid. And, it's so great because you get these conversations as couples are, bouncing ideas off one another, sharing what they're doing. And, it's one of those things where Tony and I don't put those types of posts up just to kind of say like, hey, you all think about this. We're living in our own little bubble here. Like, we do those things because we are also constantly becoming aware or thinking about, what are the little actions that we can do consistently over time that are going to create big changes. And so this month, we were sitting there having a conversation, thinking about it. And I actually had, kind of a what can I do moment. And looking at our calendar during the month of March, we knew that our daughter who lives with us was going to be flying back to California for a friend's wedding and to see other friends and whatnot. And so I'm looking at the calendar and I'm doing the math and I'm counting the number of days that this wonderful young woman is going to be in California. And it turned out to be 9 days. So I looked at Tony and I was like, hey, because we're always looking for opportunities, right?
Yep.
Tony and I, over the years that we've been really intentional about our marriage, have made it a point to look for not just opportunities to do a sex challenge, but opportunities to be intentional about our marriage. And so with Abby being gone for the 9 days, it was like, well, would you be up for this? does this work for us in this period of time to try this with, preparing for the cruise and coming off of trips, to Nebraska and Texas and Oklahoma and doing all this kind of stuff. And he did not say no.
Nope.
He did not say no. And, for those of you that are brand new or newer to the One Extraordinary Marriage Show, you may not know that a very big part of the reason this podcast even exists is because back in 2008, Tony and I did our first sex challenge. It's episode 001.
I'll put it here in the episode notes.
But since 2008, Tony and I have done at least one sex challenge a year. And there was one year that we did two, which makes this year, the one that we just completed, actually our 19th.
And I'm just going to say this because so many others have jumped on the bandwagon over the years, and God bless them.
Since 2008.
God bless them. But I'm just going to say we've done 19. We have completed 19. Anywhere from 7-8 days to 60 days. And some of you in the one family have gone well beyond 60 days. I get it. You guys are awesome. But I'm just saying there are others out there who tout doing sex challenges. I'm just going to say we've completed 19 of them, and most of them over the years we have shared in some way, shape, or form through the One Extraordinary Marriage Show. So I just want that to be known when you go see somebody touting it.
Because we've seen it over the years, different TV shows, hosts, and whatnot. But, what's interesting, and I often get asked this question from coaching clients, like, why do it? And, a big part of it is, yes, it's a focus on our sexual intimacy, but each year something new is revealed to us. Each year there's an emphasis on different pillars of intimacy or how they all come together. And this one was different. For I think a number of reasons. One of them, I think, was the fact that we did have the accountability with knowing that others in intimacy mastery were also challenging themselves this month. So, like in years past, it would just be, just Tony and I having, okay, let's do this, and then we do a We Did It episode or something like that after. But this one, we knew that there was kind of an external accountability to it, and people, just like you, going after other activities on their intimacy mastery assessment, the roadmaps, and just taking those actions. So other people were taking action. And this is also the first one that we've done as pseudo empty nesters. 2 adult children now. Abby clearly was in California for all of that period of time. So we were like, we are not worried about kids. We are not worried about kids' schedules. We are not worried about anybody calling and being like, Mom, Dad, I need something. So we were in that. And it was also the first one we did in Southwest Florida.
Boom.
Since we moved. And this one, the emotional intimacy, I will say from the get-go, was a higher requirement this year.
And that was on my part. It was very interesting because Elisa suggested doing this, and I was all for it. I'm always up for it. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I'm always up for it, but I was up for this.
You usually say yes.
I usually say yes, but then it's always like, oh man, what's going to happen on day 4, 5, 6? But this one I was up for. But it was just an interesting one because most of the time I have suggested of the 19, more than half, I've probably suggested that we do one looking at calendar. So Elisa coming to me and going like, hey, like, let's make this one happen. I was like super excited. In my mind, that also meant for me, I'm going to let Elisa do a little more initiating on this one. And for some reason, the first night even, Elisa was like, all right, let's go. Like, let's just jump into it. And I was just sort of like, whoa, let's pump the brakes here, honey. Like, let's engage with one another. Like, it's been a full day.
He straight up said, I need more emotional intimacy from you. That was like word for word. I'm like, well, at least you've read the book.
Because I was like, even though we don't have the children around, they're still on your mind. There's still work stuff on our mind. There's still, just being in a new area still. And yes, we've been here, 7 months, but they're still like settling in and it's getting better. But I just felt like I need to connect with you before I'm just going to like go at it. This year, I will say, having been on HRT has been super helpful in the sense of not having to be concerned about maintaining an erection, anything of that nature. So that was very helpful. But from the get-go, I was like, no, we need to engage each other more because we have the time. This isn't like years and years ago when we had younger children and it was just like, all right, let's just get a quickie in so we can keep moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we did. And that's actually one of the benefits of, and I didn't even think about it at the time, but that's one of the benefits of having this vocabulary around the 6 pillars, right? Being able to ask for what you need as you're, undertaking a challenge or even anything in life, but being able to ask for it. And so, yes, we did make time for conversation, and I made sure that he got to use all of his words before I'm like, are we good? Do you feel emotionally connected? Do you need more? And that was a role reversal, because in years past, I would be like, I gotta use up these words with you. Something else that was different this year was that this one required the use of lube. Mm-hmm. We've had a number of years where that hasn't been the case, but again, been very transparent on the podcast that I am a wife in perimenopause. And so since I am not ovulating as regularly as I used to, we don't have that window. Like we always used to, for years and years, we used to plan our sex challenge around the week of ovulation, because that is, for a woman who is ovulating, that is the time that her natural lubricant is at its height. It's also the time that arousal is generally at its height. And so we're just going to plan it for that week. We knew we were done having babies. Side note, for all of you that are not done having babies, if you choose that week,
make sure you're using protection.
Use whatever form of protection, because the week around ovulation by default is your most fertile week. And we do know that there are 7-day sex challenge babies out there. So yes. I just have to put that out there.
Yeah. And using lube, and I just want to say this because it's really interesting. Had some interesting conversations over this last month because we have been speaking at churches and, folks that know us and having this conversation. And our favorite lube is Uber Lube. Like, love it, love it, love it. I'll put a link here for you. Grab it. Interestingly enough, in Christian circles, this is still like one of those things that people just get all like freaked out about. And there's nothing wrong with using lube. Nothing. And I mean, I've had multiple conversations with Uber Lube folks and just talking to them and what they've learned over the years and all of that stuff. And they work with many, many, many of OBGYNs and all of this. But let's not make lube a dirty word in our marriage is what I want to say here, because it wasn't a thing where Elisa's like, hey, we need to use lube. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm the worst husband in the world. It's like, no, if that's going to be more pleasurable for you, then let's go there. And I think we ended up using it twice we ended up doing 8 days total. And I think we ended up using it twice.
Absolutely. And like Tony said, and I want to say this, I just want to reemphasize this. My need for lube is not a reflection on Tony or his skills in being able to create arousal. There are simply times as a woman whose hormones are fluctuating that my body needs a little extra help. And because we've normalized that conversation within our marriage, it doesn't derail the experience if I'm like, just get a little Uber Lube, right? He's just like, good, we're done with it. And so we had those 2 big revelations, and there's just like one more that I want to talk about, but we're going to do that after this break, and then wrap it all up together for you guys.
From ADT comes Trusted Neighbor, the new standard in home access. Through the ADT Plus app, easily grant and automate event-based or scheduled access for neighbors, friends, and helpers. Notify trusted individuals of events like alarms or packages, and set access windows for planned guests or even the dog walker without interrupting your day. Visit ADT.com. When every second counts, count on ADT. Requires ADT Complete Pro monitoring plan and compatible devices. Copyright 2025 ADT LLC. All rights reserved.
Do you sometimes find yourself with big health dreams and little to no time? Or maybe it's late and you just want something quick and good for you. We get it, and that's where today's episode sponsor can make a huge difference in your life. Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes. Hello, time. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. And I have to tell you, Factor makes my coaching days so easy. I can coach all day, and then I don't have to stress over what's for dinner. I get to breathe a sigh of relief with flavors like green goddess chicken or herbed ricotta and beef ragu. I know there's always something delicious to eat. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/marriage50off and use code marriage50off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code marriage50off at factormeals.com/marriage50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. We're back, and we've been talking about this journey with sex challenge number 19. And, we talked about lube, we talked about, just what it looked like for the emotional intimacy, but there was one other observation this time around. And I think partly it's because I think on some level, maybe we got a little casual about how we go into sex challenges, kind of like, you know what, we got this, like we can make this work. We just kind of like fly by the seat of our pants, that kind of thing. And this time around, so we had like the first night that our daughter had left, we ended up, having sex in the evening. And then the second night, I can't remember what happened. I think I had a full day of coaching. And so that was also in the evening. And I'm like, okay, tomorrow we're going to have sex like middle of the day. Cause I love daytime, not last thing on the day, like when we're all exhausted. And then like the day went through. It was Thursday. We had both had interviews that day. There were different things going on. And we're in this place. And then I realized, it started to move towards the evening again. Okay. And then the next day it was also kind of moving towards the evening. And I finally asked Tony, I'm like, question for you. This sex challenge that we're in right now, are you waiting for me to initiate every day? Like, is that what's going on here? Because usually there's some give and take. We've had challenges in the past where it's been like, hey, we're going to alternate days and this kind of, and again, we didn't talk about it. Communication, emotional intimacy. Missed that box. And so what did you say?
I said, yes, I was waiting for you to initiate.
And we hadn't talked about it, which caused a little, it was actually, I was going to say it caused a little tension. It didn't actually cause tension. We had a good laugh about it. I had a good laugh about it. I don't know if you were laughing.
Yeah, I mean, you began to make some funny things and like, well, is this initiating? And how about if I initiate like this? And, doing some funny things. But, yeah, I mean, I think and when I say we, not the overall we, Elisa and I, there are times when we will go into a sex challenge and there will probably be some expectations that are not said, that are not shared. And this one was one of those where in my mind, I was like, okay, well, she's bringing this up. She seems really excited about it. I'm all for it. I want to let her like go after this. Like you initiate a little bit more. You show the desire a little bit more. More times than not, it still lands on my lap, even with the intimacy lifestyle. It's never going to be perfect, folks. But we work together as a team. And so this was an expectation that I had in my head. And when she finally brought it up, it was shared. It wasn't like I was being like, oh, no, I didn't think about that at all or try to lie or, hide it under the bed, But I was just like, yeah, knowing that we would have a good conversation around it. Am I saying it's the best for you? Maybe not. Maybe you need to be way transparent on every single little thing. Again, we've done 19 of these. And so there is an understanding of what we're doing. Elisa and I have every single one we have started, we have completed in some way, shape, or form. There have been times when we've done a 7-day sex challenge that took 8 days because we took a day off in the middle. This one was actually 8 times in 8 days. So there's always something that comes up in one of these challenges that let's either one of us or both of us go, oh, wow, like that's something we probably need to address next time, or we just need to address it in our marriage overall.
Absolutely. And, I think that really starts to bring in like, what were the lessons this time? And every year I think we're reminded of the fact that it's not just about sexual intimacy.
Nope.
So many people, I mean, we became known for the 7-day sex challenge. Like Tony said, we've been doing this since 2008. We've become known for doing a sex challenge like before we were even talking about all the different intimacies. And so a lot of people just have associated over the years the fact that this is all about sexual intimacy. And what I tell people time and time again, the sexual intimacy is the catalyst. It's the action. It's that central focus on whatever your time frame is, whether it's 7 days or 100 days or whatever it is. But all of your intimacies are impacted. You can't go through this and actually engage with it and not have these other things, whether it's your emotional, your physical, your recreational, whatever it might be, if you're really being an active participant in this. So sex is the catalyst, but it's not only about sex.
Absolutely. And we've said that from the first one. We have said that from the first one. And every time we do it, it's like, oh, wow. Like, even in our recreational intimacy, we just were engaging each other more in that this week. Just pulling out the deck of Monopoly deal and just having fun. And, if we had sex already or we may have sex later, it was just one of those things. It was just like, oh, yeah, like that's an area we need to work on. So I thought it was great.
Your emotional intimacy matters. Obviously, we had, those first couple of nights when Tony's like, I need more emotional intimacy. But it's also like, how are you engaging with one another so that this isn't just like we're checking the box every day?
And can I say, I think as I've gotten older, this is me, and I've shared this openly and honestly with you guys. I'm not the 35-year-old guy anymore. And so,
meaning, explain what you mean by that, because somebody might hear that and not. Okay.
I am. So from a physiological or a physical standpoint, I don't look at Elisa and get an erection like that anymore. And so that emotional intimacy actually allows me, and we talked about this, what was it, last week, about desire and arousal. There's still a desire. Unfortunately, my body doesn't like to act the way I want it to act in terms of like getting an erection because I desire Elisa. So the arousal part, I need more of it. That in turn means the emotional intimacy, the conversation, the engaging with her, the physical intimacy that we have, those touches that we're having as we're engaging in that emotional intimacy begins to heighten my arousal, which allows me to have a stiffer erection, which allows us to have more pleasure when it comes to our sexual intimacy.
Yeah.
So 35-year-old Tony, no big deal to do a quickie in the bathroom when we had little ones, use some lube in the shower, much easier. That would be difficult for me today to do. Like, especially during a 7-day sex challenge. If we were just doing a normal intimacy lifestyle, I don't think I'd have as much of a problem. But multiple days, like, that would be tough. So that emotional intimacy draws me closer to her. That allows me to have that arousal that we spoke about last week.
Another thing that, got highlighted to us this year, and we were just talking about it, is the fact that your expectations matter, right? Who's going to initiate? Who's going to make sure that the lube or the toys are handy? Who's going to pick the lingerie or the location? How will you each take turns? When are you being sexually intimate? Like, all of those questions, which are ultimately, in front of expectations, they matter. And having the conversation and talking about them, allows the two of you to, minimize the tension and heighten your success in this experience, right? Because if you don't talk about these things and they just are left as kind of like latent expectations, and sometimes those expectations aren't met, you can get frustration. And frustration can often derail a sex challenge. We've heard you all talk about it many times over the years.
Guys, talking to you here real quick. If you're unable to ejaculate after 3, 4, 5 days, whatever it is, let your wife know. It's okay. There was one day that I wasn't able to. One day that I was sort of like very, very close, like not being able to. It's okay when you are going through a sex challenge. It's not uncommon. And so wives also understand your husband may not be ejaculating. For him, that's a big defeat, most likely, because I've talked to many husbands, and Elisa has as well, and wives. It feels like it's a big defeat, but during a sex challenge, I think there needs to be some grace for yourself and for each other, but let your spouse know if that's starting to happen in your head. Like, just, hey, the expectation is this. It didn't happen this time. Let me rest up. And, like, if you do it in the morning, like, here's a great, really good one for you guys. Do one in the morning. If you don't ejaculate there, wait till the following evening so it gives you enough time to rejuvenate.
Yeah, you're at roughly 36 hours, give or take.
You got a little more time behind you. It may help you out.
Which highlights another aspect of this. And, that's the fact that sexual intimacy doesn't have to be perfect every time.
Oh, I love that one.
I mean, I like if I look back at sex challenge number 1, where, the definition of a successful challenge back then was we orgasmed and it was intercourse we completed 40 out of 60. Like that was kind of where we had started. But wisdom is born of all the years in between. And it's recognizing that perfect sexual intimacy is the closeness and connection in that time. It's not whether or not there was an orgasm. Good. It's not whether or not somebody needed to use lube. It's stepping into this place and saying, is what we're doing, is this action, whatever it is. Maybe you're just engaging in foreplay. Maybe it's oral sex. Maybe it's, just manual stimulation, whatever it is, the way the two of you define sexual intimacy. Can you have perfect sexual intimacy regardless of whether or not somebody orgasms?
Mm-hmm. Which leads into that next one, which is what works for the two of you, be it, the location, the frequency, the length, whatever it may be, doesn't have to work for everyone else. And we have said this from probably the beginning. Mm-hmm. What you two do in your bedroom is between you, your spouse, and God. Go. Hey, if your location is the laundry room and that turns you on, and that's somewhere where you guys are just like, let's go because we got littles and we can turn the dryer on and it's loud or whatever and turn the dryer or the washing machine on, whatever, like shower sex. I don't know, whatever you want to do. If you're outside though, like, please, like, obey the laws, the regulations in your city, county, state. We do not hold you. We are not held accountable for any actions that may be taken against you by a peace officer. So just going to leave that. Always
that caveat when we talk about you guys having sex outside your homes. Just be responsible.
Just going to leave it at that. I mean, at one point it was Saturday. Beautiful day down here. It's probably like 80 something degrees here in Southwest Florida, which is what Elise and I love. We're in our pool. It's probably like 85, 90. It's a gorgeous day. And I'm looking at Elisa. I'm like, hey babe, like, how about right here in the pool? And she's just like, no. And we have a lanai, and so people can see in from certain angles. We do have a hedge and all of this sort of stuff, but it was broad daylight, and she was just like, no. And hey, okay, cool.
He tried.
Like, no harm, no foul. I mean, I would think if it was nighttime, evening time, you probably would have been more up for it.
If the lights were not on, absolutely.
Yeah.
But, full daytime, just not
going to happen.
Because you just never know when landscapers are going to walk around and that kind of thing. And
not on a Saturday. Sometimes they are here on our Saturdays.
Sometimes they're here on Saturdays.
So whatever you guys choose to do, it's yours. Make it yours. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the things after 19 of these, I don't think Elise and I ever look around when we start one of these and go, oh, well, you remember so-and-so and they did this or so-and-so did that. Or it's just like, no, this is about you and me growing close and connected.
And I think finally, the big lesson I took here at the end of this was that, it's nice to have accountability from time to time. It's nice to know that there are other couples who are actively seeking, whether it's in the same month or the same week or, even just in community with you, that there are couples that are actively seeking to level up their marriage, who are focused on what can I do and what can we do? The question that we ask so often. And, Tony and I did not post every day in Intimacy Mastery. It wasn't like, hey guys, day 3 is done, day 5 is done. We weren't doing that, but it was enough to know that other couples were taking action just like we were. That became just kind of that little added like kick in the pants of, hey, stay focused, stay on course, keep doing the action. Why? Because I want to be able to come from a place of we did it. And we did it no matter what the challenge is. There could be couples doing a kissing challenge this month or couples doing the spiritual intimacy challenge or whatever that is. But I want to level up to the people that I'm around. Mm-hmm. And so being in community where you can just celebrate those wins. I think that was a shift for me this year. And I'm grateful to all of you that are in Intimacy Mastery. Just know that we receive from you as much as you're receiving from the community.
Yeah. And we've mentioned Intimacy Mastery, and maybe you've seen it, but if you'd love to transform your marriage from disconnected to extraordinary and do that with others in the one family, where we are providing a live workshop every month for our Intimacy Mastery members. We are dropping micro content to our members twice a month. So it's a what can I do and what can we do around the 6 pillars of intimacy. If you'd like to get an exclusive private podcast episode, come join us there and the many others. I mean, somebody yesterday was just like, we love this so much, we're lifers. So come join us. Be a part of Intimacy Mastery. Be a part of folks who want to see you have an extraordinary marriage. You can learn more at intimacymastery.com. We have 3 options you can pick from. Pick one that will work for you today. You know what? Here's the thing. Over the years, and I want to land the plane here again, we've done 19 sex challenges. And over the years, we have had some where we're just like, oh my gosh, we made it through, like by the skin of our teeth. And there are some where we've sat back and we're like, that was absolutely amazing. I can't believe how quickly that went. This year's one, I would say for Elisa and I, was one where we learned some new things about ourselves. It was fun. It was absolutely like, it didn't take up a bunch of energy from us. And yet it made us go, you know what? I can't wait till the next one. What are we going to do the next one? Because every one we learn. And hopefully we were able to share what we learned this one. And maybe you're looking at doing your first one. Maybe your 5th or your 10th one. Maybe this will encourage you to just go, you know what? Maybe that last one we tried didn't go the way we wanted it to, but we learned something here today that'll allow us to engage with one another, get close and connected in all our pillars of intimacy by starting a sex challenge. You guys have yourselves a fantastic week. We can't wait to hear your We Did It as you complete your sex challenge. Have a great one. Love you guys. Thank you for listening to the One Extraordinary Marriage Show. If you love this podcast, please leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you are listening. Your review helps others find the show and know that it's the right fit for them and their marriage.